rebuilding the carbs. So obviously you've stripped them all down, taking the top off them. The top's simple. You've got that sort of design when they're in. They just come apart quite easily from the top. These two carbs have been ultrasonically cleaned, which is carb free is in the process of getting ultrasonically cleaned. And to be honest, they've turned out, compared to what they were, really well. Putting them back together, a little bit more complicated. Ensure that the spring is in, and that this little tab here, when that prong goes in it, they're split. You can see there's two washers. It has to sit in the middle of those two washers like that. It's quite tricky to get in. So what I'm in the process of doing, just finishing off carb free. I then clean the side of the bowls. That's everything, and the mounts. That's everything cleaned off. I'm fitting them together without the mounts on. Once they're all fit together, the mounts on, you can move them around quite easily. Start screwing the mount on. Oh, job done. That's turned out really nice. Put that there. Get these floats, bowls. Don't need these old seals so they can come out. Take a look at them. That's one. I've also unscrewed the bits on the bottom. That's 1 and 2. Keep that going. Give this carb a nice clean. Those are done. So again, these bits on here, I'm not really bothered aesthetically if they're spotless. I want them to be cleaner than they were before. This really is about breaking down the dirt in any of the tubes that go between each of them. So a bit of carb cleaner just helps blow a bit of shit out, get the water out as well. So I have the seal goes that way up. This, don't know what it's called, can only go one way. Groove there, little nodule there, and you can then see if you're hitting the jet. In, drop the spring on top, and drop the bowl on. And a simple case of putting all 4 of these on, all 2, sorry, and winding in. Ultrasonic cleaner was really cheap, 80 quid on Amazon. And you can use it for everything really, jewellery, watches. So it's not just for cleaning small parts on a motorbike. I've checked all the hoses to make sure none of them are split. Again, this is just making sure there's no crap. So this one connects up to here, so that bit goes on there, that bit goes on the spring in there. There's this pipe in between, which goes on here. And this tubing, which will go on here upwards. For fuck's sake. Come on, you can do it. Yes. Right, let's spin this around. Yes. Okay. Right. Need that bit to go in there. Oh, don't. Okay. Oh my God. Okay. That seems done. Just this front bit now. That was hard work. Float 3, looking good. And 4. They've all been, I'm loosely putting this bracket back on. I can tighten these up. I need a little bit of flexibility. I need to get that spring in there, but I'm happy to a degree. So it's not going to fall apart if I move it. So last but not least, this spring needs to go in between there and there. Could have put it on while I was doing it, but it just fucking bang everywhere. As I said, I'm not too worried about any adjustments or any of the mixed screws or anything like that, because I'm gonna have to, that's done, have to bench sync them so that all these open in the right direction and in the right way. So I'd never done this before. I was just so worried about not being able to get them back together. But as you can see, as long as you keep an order, jobs is to clean the seats for the floats. Obviously this one was leaking, so one of the methods I've seen on YouTube is to use cotton wool buds down the middle and then give it a nice clean with some sort of abrasive, but not too abrasive, car wax. So I'm just using auto clean paint renovator. Just dip it in there, and not too hard pressure, but just enough to give it a clean. You see the dirt already on there, a lot of it from the rubber on the end of the float, which is normally what perishes and causes the leakage. So you see the rubber tip there. Okay, so all 4 valve seats, float seats are nice and clean, and I can see the bottoms of them, they're really shiny. So now I'm going to put back together the actual floats. So these are quite simple. So I'm just going to, this is a new float, I'm going to test it with the old float back on, just to see whether it just needed a clean. These are little retention springs that help pull the float down like so. Float goes in, floats on, and this little bar goes through. We'll measure the heights of the floats shortly and set them by adjusting this little tip here. So again, they've had a clean and a spray, and I'm just doubly making sure. Oh, it's hot in here. So the float height on this Cb750K is 15.5 centimeters. And there's 2 ways you can measure them. You can buy a tool which is designed for it, and the manual says to measure them when they're flat. Some people like to tilt them at an angle, but basically what you're looking for is for the float to be resting as little as possible on the float seal. There, the float's hanging totally down, and then obviously as the fuel fills up, it shuts the valve off. So you need to set the float height. So if I use my verniers and set it to 15.5 mil, it's close enough for me. I want to measure, I'm going to tilt them back until the floats are touching, not pressing, touching. I want a little bit of spring like that. So obviously that needs to come up, that needs to come up, that needs to go in. So I'm happy with that one. Let's have a look again. So all I'm going to do is to make it come up, push this tang in, and again with this one it needs to come out. So I use different Let's have a look now. Resting back slightly. Nice. No. So set all the floats. So if I tilt it back, so I'm looking for that 15.5. A little bit of spring in it, not too much. I can live with that. So if I look down the top, they're all sitting pretty flush, although these ones are sitting quite low. So if I look, so this little tang here is bent more back than it is forward. So I'm just gonna bend it. So then they all hang down roughly the same. A little bit more. Because again, you know what could happen is that it hangs down too low. It's a bit too much. I'm getting there. I just need to be yeah, so I don't know if you can see that, but they all look the same height. Nice. A little bit more. I don't want to press too much because I don't want to have to back it off the other way and the tab breaks, but that is spot on. So happy with that. I'll now put all the floats back on and we can then test to make, sorry, I won't put the floats back on. We can do a simple test to see if these are working. So I can gently there. And then what I can do is pour water in there and push up on the floats and they should seal. So I can use a couple of elastic bands for this to hold these floats back. So like these two. Shouldn't need to be a lot of pressure on it. So if I put that there, and we get a bit of tubing, I will show you the end result. Got hooked up to the fuel line, those are closed off. So if I pour water in, it should pour out. So if I press gently up, release, goes down. So gets a bit of head on it. So I'm gently pressing up on the carb. There's quite a bit of volume in there. So if I lower, at what point does it start leaking? There. Up again. It's not leaking. Hope you can see that. Down. Leaking. Well, not leaking, flowing. Okay, so carbs are completely back together. The floats are on, new seals, all done. All the butterflies for the choke, everything on. So the last job to do is to bench sink everything, because I've had obviously the carbs split, so therefore, as you can see, inside each of these carbs, they're not all good. So number 2 is a control carb. That's the one that you can't adjust. So if you notice these little adjusters, there's one for carb 1, none for carb 2, one for carb 3, one for carb 4. So the process that you use is you adjust carb 1 to carb 2, carb 3 and 4 together, and then check all of them. So you use something that you can put down that's the same size. So I know that this is the same size. I'm going to put that down into there, and then I'm going to use, well, in actual fact, easier to use. So I know the spines of all those are all the same. So like if I went through there, there's loads of room, there, loads of room, there, loads of room. So how you adjust these is on the top, a simple screw, and if you wind them in, it opens. If you wind them out, it closes. So what I'm going to do is exactly the same area, exactly the same depth. Yep, happy with that. So those two are the same. And I'm going to adjust this carb. You see, oh. So just carb 3 to carb 2. And carb 4. So all those should be the same. I'll double check. That one could be Perfect. 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 So all those are now bench synced. So if I have a look inside, they should roughly be the same. You can allow for a little bit of a discrepancy according to YouTube. To rebuilt, I've connected up the throttle cables to the front and back. The choke cable, I haven't connected that up yet. I've got to heat up these rubber boots, push the carbs into place, and tighten them up. So I use a heat gun to do that. I don't want to melt them, I just want to heat them up hot enough so they're more pliable. I'll make sure I got the right thing. Nope. Oh. Yeah. Okay then. Keep pushing. Drop them down. Do the chances first. Always happens. Knock it on. Knock it on the other side. Oh, stop. Make sure the seal. Then you'll be carrying. Alright. Just hang on. Continue a bit. Let's find out. Cool. Back off here. So when it comes to balancing carbs. Right here. I think that's one. Yep. Roof. So I've got my fuel tank set up over there, just gravity feed into the carbs, so hopefully I'm gonna have no leaks. So let's do it. Make sure that's on. Carbs are filling up nice, no leaks on the bottom. Nervous as fuck. Excited. Keys. Hopefully she's not drained on battery. Give them some choke.